Hello guys, and welcome to a new episode of my channel. Today we've got a nice comparison. I'm filming using a phone, a micro four thirds system and also a full frame system. So what I'm using at the moment to film this introduction is my Samsung Galaxy Note 9, and I'm filming at 30 frames per second Quad HD, which is not full HD and it's not 4K, it's just in the middle, Quad HD. This is 30 frames per second. Now, moving on to the next one here, I'm using the Olympus EM5 Mark III with a 25mm lens f1.8. Now, this is a micro four thirds system, and unfortunately, I didn't have any wider lens. I do have a wider lens, but it hasn't got this f point, the 1.8 that I want, because we are testing the low light capabilities. Now, if you want to translate that to a full frame equivalent, this is going to be a 50mm f3.6. It's very important to note that everything in micro four thirds gets duplicated or doubled. Sorry about that. It has to be doubled. So a 25mm becomes a 50mm, and an f1.8 becomes an f3.6. So now we're looking at an f3.6. Now moving on to my my Panasonic Lumix S5 with the 24mm f1.8. Now, in terms of full frame equivalent, this is a full frame basically, so we are actually using a 24mm f1.8. there is no equivalent. This is the full frame, and also called 35mm sensor. So can you see any difference? Which one do you prefer? This is the phone, Galaxy Note 9, and this is the micro four thirds with a f3.6, as we said, and this is the full frame. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lower the light a little bit. We're just going to we're going to dim it. Dim. So now in my phone, what can you see? There's a bit of graining going on. Everything is clear. Now moving on to the micro four thirds. I think the micro four thirds is not doing very well. It's got this bluish hue. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me just change the position of this camera. It might be struggling in this angle, but no, looking at it at this angle, it's doing the same thing. Anyway, moving on to the full frame, my Panasonic S5. This is what it does in low light situation. Now let's take it up a notch. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this light off completely. So now back again to my S9, my Note 9, and this is filming me now. And now moving on to the micro four thirds system, Panasonic, the Olympus EM5 Mark III with the f25mm f1.8, which is equivalent to 3.6. And now moving on to the full frame Lumix S5 with the 24mm f1.8. Now let's take this a bit further, one step further, and we're gonna turn the source of the light off, and all we're gonna have left is the laptop, my computer, my screen. Now here is where the full frame should come in handy. However, there's a lot going on with the processing and the software of the phones that are gonna give it extra light. So now I'm filming with my phone. All there is there's a bit of light from the screen coming from my screen, and this is what the phone is doing, the Note 9. And now moving to the micro four thirds, it's struggling. Obviously the f3.6 is not doing very well. The phone probably has a bit of software going on, where Olympus unfortunately is struggling a bit with this reddish hue, very pink, orangey colors. And now moving on to the full frame S5, this is what it actually is showing me. Obviously I have to come a bit closer to give it a fair comparison, but this is basically it. Now let's move on. Let's give this a bit more light, because obviously my screen is very dim. Let's give it a bit more light. So this is what we are at the moment. There's a bit of light coming from the side here from my screen. This is my Note 9. Back again to the micro four thirds Olympus EM5 Mark III using the 25mm f1.8, which equates to 50mm f3.6, and now moving back to the full frame Panasonic Lumix S5 with the 24mm f1.8. So this is a low light test. I hope you like it. Let's move things a little bit closer, because to give it the benefit of doubt, and obviously because we are trying to match the millimeter equivalent. So a 25mm has to come very close up to my face in order to be able to compete with the rest on a level, because I had to unfortunately do with what I have. This is a little bit of comparison. Let me know in the comments down below what do you think, which one is better, what have I done wrong, what would you like to see more. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time I release a new video. I hope to see you in the next episode. Peace. That's the end of that battery. You got a second one over here. You got a second one over here. Where you at? Where the battery at? Is that the battery? You can sure try. You got a battery and everything.